Hello again, and welcome to Embracing What's Possible with Roxy. So glad you're back. March is the month where we're talking about intellectual disabilities. So, my choice was to introduce families that have children, adults with disabilities, and what the world is like, what kind of tips we can talk about, and how we can make the world even a better place while we're all getting educated on these topics. So, again, I'm your host, Roxy B. Rocker, and I have an amazing guest. We've known each other for a couple of years now, and I'm really grateful to have him on the show. He is going to be the first topic on the families with disabilities today. Aaron, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, my name is Aaron DeVries, and I go by the Inclusive Dad. I have a daughter. I have two children. My daughter, Cecilia. I always have to do the math. She's 23 now. Three
Mm.
months, 3 months old, diagnosed with epilepsy, and then cerebral palsy. So I got into that whole world of disability, special education early on. That was my first go around with it, and like I said, call myself the inclusive dad. All about inclusion. I've been hosting a podcast now. I think I released episode 181 this morning. So I
Wow.
just love talking to families about inclusion and people about inclusion and getting the word out and spreading that message.
Well, I'm grateful to have you here. Um, can you talk? I was a child with disabilities. Um, I was a child with disabilities, and one of the first things that I remember when they finally diagnosed me at around 3.5, because when you were a child in the 70s, they didn't know anything. So a chiropractor found this huge leg discrepancy, and then I went into the medical world, and my memory is that I had to put gowns on all the time. I was in x-ray rooms and doctors pulled on my legs, touched my body. They don't palpate anymore, but they pulled on my legs, they touched my body, and I always had to have like that hammer on my knee or something. And this discrepancy they found at like 3.5, and then I was told that I had to have a heel lift. So I'm curious, what was the life like? Did you have to go to the doctors all the time? Was she pulled out of school all the time? Like, what was that like? Because I remember as a child, I was always in the hospital.
So I was born in the 70s and then I don't remember. She was born in, let's see, it would be 2002. Prior to that, I don't remember looking back, hearing the word disability,
Right?
hearing about special education, like knowing
Mhm.
anybody, like seeing wheelchairs. Now, I don't know if I never heard those words or saw anything, or that's just, I wasn't familiar, so it just didn't like register or stick with me. But I kind of remember it as just she's born. We find out she has epilepsy. Well, okay, we found out she was having some things that could have been seizures. We live close
Mm.
to the Mayo Clinic in southern Minnesota, so we went there, had a bunch of testing done. I mean, I can, as you were saying that, going through what you were talking about, I can remember like the color of the walls in the waiting room.
Mhm.
I'm on the
Yeah.
floor where we, went to see the
Mm.
neurologist and had the doctors. My parents were I don't remember where they were, but they were not around. So we had my grandma and grandpa come with us on the day we found out where they were going to give us the results. Found out she had epilepsy, but yeah, there was a lot of um, they had something then called like the cerebral palsy clinic, which was like a day,
Oh.
like a solid day of appointments, which was kind of
Mm.
nice because then you
Yeah.
didn't have to run, every week to an appointment, but it was also draining because you'd get there like at 8 o'clock in the morning and then it would go straight through to like 5. So you were there all day. But I mean, it was, like I said, nice in the fact
Wow.
you could get it all done at lunchtime. But there's lots of appointments. And then I mean, she's been on lots of different seizure meds. So all the
Yeah.
appointments, trying those out. And, it's not working. More seizures, lots of ER visits. Went to see a hospital up in the Twin Cities area to find out if she'd be a candidate for like brain surgery for a seizure.
Mm.
So which she was not, but I mean, yeah, so there was lots of appointments for sure.
Yeah.
And then and then the school started. She got into like the earlier intervention stuff. I mean,
Okay.
I don't remember the age, but it was pretty. I mean, she was still at home, so they'd come over to the house and do
Can
things
you
with her.
explain early intervention? I
The
can,
best, I
but
mean,
go for it.
so it was,
Mhm.
it was when the teachers like came into the house and did, I think it was like PT, OT, they would come in and do, like she
Mhm.
had, she had AFOs or braces on her legs. She had splints on her
Okay.
hands, all that stuff. So they'd come in and help us with, those exercises and different things, prior to like school age in the house. I think there was some other stuff too. I mean, I, I wish I was a journaler because then I could look back and like maybe remember more of this stuff. But I mean, that's not who
No,
I
no, no,
am.
no,
So I
no.
can't. So,
And
but
so
yeah, go ahead.
from me being an early childhood specialist when I was young, um, early intervention programs are for 0 to 3. And then you can move into the Head Start. I think you can graduate into Head Start after you're done with the early intervention. But you'll have a teacher, a case manager, I believe, an occupational therapist, and a physical therapist that can come to your home and provide all sorts of care for the families and give support and services. Is it scary having people in and out of your house like that? Like, did you ever worry, like, are we doing it wrong? Would they teach us or do we get in trouble? Like, did you ever
I,
have those kind of worries?
I mean, I don't remember that specifically, but I do know I mean, just from having lots of people in your house, I mean, it's kind of interesting because growing up in my house with my parents and siblings, I mean, if somebody was coming over, that's when we cleaned the house up really good and like put stuff away and hid stuff so they wouldn't see all our crap laying around. So I mean, I know having people in your house is a little nerve-wracking. I mean,
Yeah.
there is some worries about like, yeah, are they going to see something they're not okay with and turn us in, or there's a lot more eyes in your
Mm-hmm.
personal space than most people are used to. So it's a
Sure.
little different for sure.
When she grew up and you were doing the school and she got into, was she in like a special needs school or did she go to inclusion? Did she go to the regular public school?
So she went at, like you said, after early intervention, she went to a preschool, I think.
Yep.
I think the first year of that was like in just a special ed preschool room, and then the
Hmm.
second year, I believe she went into like the Head Start, so she would be with like typical peers,
Yeah.
kind of in that setting. And
Mhm.
then in the town that we she went to school in, they had like a kindergarten center, so all kindergartners were in one building, and then in first grade they split out to the grade schools. So I remember having a discussion prior to that where we had her go to like where the grade school would be because we didn't want to keep having every year have a transition and people have to meet her and that kind of stuff. So we sent her there, but the school that the building the teachers in school recommended was across town because of her level of need, which at the time, since we didn't have like the background of special education, we just kind of went
Yeah.
along with what the teacher said, sent her across town. Her brother would walk like 2 blocks to the neighborhood elementary school. She got on a bus and went all the way across town to a school where that room was down
Mhm.
the hallway for her. So that was where she started out, and then I realized that I went there when she was young, and other kids in her class were like folding towels already, like in kindergarten, first grade, and I was like, hold on a second, this seems a little early for that. Why are we not having them in reading and math? And got on the inclusion path, and then after that, kind of
Yeah.
struggled to get her as fully included as we wanted to be. She was in always in a public school in town.
Mm.
It was just kind of where she was in the school. We By the time she was done with high school, she was, I don't remember the percentages, but at least I don't know, half the day she was in with her peers probably or more. So,
Yeah.
but it was a
Yeah.
struggle once she was down that path of being in a different room trying to get her back. So,
What now? She was born in 2000. I was born in 73. When I went to school, you were either the R word, you were pretty significantly disabled, or you were a troubled human being. And I didn't fit into any of those categories because my intellect was high. My like discrepancy was pretty bad, but my intellect was kind of high, and they didn't really know where to place me because I didn't really belong in the self-contained because I could learn. I struggled with some of the learning, so they didn't know where to put me. But they bullied me because nobody talked about disability, and it wasn't like, well, we should really understand that, like, she's yeah, you guys, she just has a different kind of a brain. We didn't talk like that. So when was in school, was she accepted? And because she was sometimes in some of the other classes, was she coddled? Like, what was that experience like? And then what was that experience like from the parent perspective? Because my parents were messed up, but you were a very involved dad. My parents weren't very involved.
I guess I mean, I don't ever recall anybody telling us that she was bullied. I mean,
Wow.
um, and she is, I mean, so when they tested her for, obviously for special education, they have to do the testing to figure out under which category she qualifies. Like I said, she qualified under many of those.
Yeah.
Always the academic testing stuff. Um, so she has cerebral palsy and she's somewhat nonverbal. Like I can understand her
Okay.
pretty good,
Yep.
but you may not be able to.
Yep.
So all the testing is either like fine motor or, like verbal. So
Yeah.
then when she would test, her scores were always quite low. But then she'd also, in the same time, I mean, we'd be having a conversation. She'd slip in some large word in context in a sentence, and I'm like, okay, I've never heard you say that word before, but you used it correctly. So I always realize that those tests, they have to do them just to, check the box, but it's not a true representation of her. So it's hard to
No.
tell like exactly where she would test she is at on like the IQ stuff. But um, yeah, we never heard about the bullying. So, I mean, I feel like
Mm.
she is aware of all that stuff going on around her, but
Hmm.
I don't think, like, I remember my high school, I was aware of that stuff. I picked up on it. I still feel like I probably have some trauma related to some stuff in bullying in high school, but I feel like she's just kind of got that spirit where, I mean, it might bug her for a little bit, but she doesn't keep thinking about it probably.
Right.
So I don't ever recall the bullying stuff. I don't ever recall any of that from a parent's
Was
perspective.
sure.
It was always more like I said, I went into the class to have lunch with her or sit there during lunch, and these other kids were doing this stuff. So it was more about all like maybe injustice or might be a strong word, but just why are we treating her differently
Right.
because, of
Right.
this or that kind of
Exactly.
thing,
Yeah.
which always upset me. Or they built a new school when she was going into fifth or sixth grade, and they had a door for special ed kids to go in. And so I was like, why are we sending them in a different door? If it was an African American door, like you'd have people in town shutting the school down. Like, why is it okay to treat kids that are on IEPs or in special ed differently? So for me, it was more of that stuff where the system just seemed to be set
Hmm.
up in ways that didn't make sense for my brain, I guess.
Right.
And I mean, I never that kind of stuff. I never really asked her like, what do you prefer? It was just for me, it was why is that even a choice? Like what?
Right.
Like I told the school, we go to Walmart, there's not a separate door for her to go in. Why are we teaching her? We
Right.
need to teach her to be able to go through the normal door and be able to deal with the people and
And how was that
buttons and all that stuff.
right? How was that perceived when you were trying to deal with that with the school? Like, were they open to these dialogues or was there resistance? Did you have to hire an advocate? This is why you became an advocate?
But doors one specifically, I mean, I look back a year
No,
or two.
the whole
Anything?
general
Okay.
of
The whole thing?
getting her, I
Yeah.
think that would be really helpful to the families to understand, okay, school, we're going to do a whole education sound, but I really
Yeah.
want them to understand, hey, there are challenges. And you're right. She doesn't have to go through a different door at
Yeah.
Walmart. This is why we need inclusive practices. So I want you to kind of give some dialogue around what are people experiencing? What did you experience in the early 2000s in school? That was a time where we were at least talking about disability and inclusive ideas were still starting to form because that was when I was doing job development and career counseling through the government. So this was a time that things were actually being talked about. So I'd be curious, was there a lot of resistance when you were trying to advocate for your daughter?
Uh, I would say there was resistance.
Yeah.
Excuse me. How much, I guess, is kind of, I'm not. that's kind of hard to figure out for sure. But it was definitely just like that door example. I remember I checked there was emails back and forth with this principal, and her argument was, well, it's safer for her. So there's at least that mindset of it's, they need to be coddled or they need to be protected, and
Hmm.
let's make it safer for them. There's at least that some of that stuff because I remember when I read the emails, that's kind of the argument they had for it. But definitely the inclusion piece, the inclusion stuff was interesting because I think initially, if I remember correctly, it was like we brought it up, schools like yes, but then we find out that okay, my definition of inclusion is not the same definition as what the school had. So it was more about okay,
Hmm.
their definition is she goes to lunch with her peers. Mine was she's in all the classes. So it was more
Right.
like that part of it. So it was definitely a that learning curve. We did eventually hire a advocate, outside advocate who's Jennifer Summerness, who did a lot of inclusion stuff to come in. And I mean, overall, honestly, the school was receptive. I mean, we didn't always agree on stuff, but the
Mm.
special ed director, we always had conversations about things, and she, we got along, and it didn't go as far as I wanted it to, but we could at least get along and not go into huge arguments over things. But it's definitely as a parent, you have to decide too, like if there's a lot of different things going on in our life and my child's life, like a lot of appointments for medical stuff, you got to pick okay, for our family, what's the most important
Right.
thing right now? Like if you got 10 things going on, maybe this year inclusion is not the biggest, or the school isn't the biggest thing. Maybe there's medical stuff. So it's
Yeah.
that piece. And also I want families to remember that just because the school or a doctor says this is how it should be, that doesn't, you need to, as a family, to
No.
talk to your
Yeah.
child if they're able to like, give input on what they want. If not, then you as a family need to decide like, okay, that's not something we agree with. And then say that to the school or the doctor. They might not be happy about it right away, but it's your family, it's your
Right.
child.
That's your child.
You need to not always do exactly what they say, especially if it doesn't line up with your values or how you see your life going.
And I mean, I'm intuitive, so I want to go with my gut. When I know something's not right, when I had a health issue and I knew it wasn't right, and the doctors kept on telling me that it was XYZ, and I was like, something else is wrong here. Something else. Can we please dig a little bit further? And I need help. You know, so when you're verbal and you have to learn self-advocacy, if you're not, you have to have advocates or your family members in your life to help you advocate. And then you do really good education when with AAC devices and other things that can help. AAC device is something that is an assistive technological device that used to be a picture board where they had pictures of things and people could push on it if they didn't have language. A lot of times they went to ASL, but this picture board at least was better. And for people with cerebral palsy and other types of nonverbal disabilities, an AAC device would actually are now on iPads and iPhones. So, and probably Android too. So you have options on what those things are. Um, a couple more questions and then we're going to have to wrap up today.
Sure.
My next question is, your daughter is 23. So was she just out of school a couple of years ago, a year ago? When did she leave school?
So I think they changed the law roughly. I think she aged out at 22, so the day before she turned 22, I think she was done. So it would have been a couple falls ago when she turned 22.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And what did they do with that transition time?
So she wanted to go to there's a community college in our town, so she was all excited about that, sent in the application, got accepted, thought everything was cool. We go there after she's done with transition, and then she needed to pass some acuplacer tests to be able to take classes at the college, which we did not know about ahead of time. So the communication was not good, in my opinion, because she was super
Mhm.
excited. I got my letter to go to college. I'm telling everybody I'm going to college. It's gonna be
Going to
awesome. And
college.
going to college, and then you go there and
Mm.
talk to I don't even, there's an office that it's
Mhm.
not like the IEP stuff at high school, but it's some disability service
Yeah, and some of
office
them
or
are
something.
phenomenal. In the 90s, mine was phenomenal and had like a mega advocate, and some of them were the worst in the whole wide world.
So yeah, we went there and found
Mhm.
out about this, and then so she took it and then did not score high enough, so then she could take some like adult ed classes, like reading math to try to help her, which she enjoyed for a while at home, like on the computer. But it was
Yeah.
she wanted to do more. She wanted to be. It would have been better if it was in person, so she could be around people. So she did the online stuff for a while, and just like I don't, this isn't fun, and I don't want to take it anymore. So now she's kind of chilling at home, just doing that kind of stuff. Still trying to figure out. She did during that transition program in high school, volunteer at the library, which she enjoyed going
Oh
there
wow.
and doing stuff. So she's tried a couple times to talk to them to see if they have anything she can do. Not yet, but she wants to do something like that. But she enjoys being around people, having fun. So that's kind of what we're doing right
So
now.
are there options and like so she's doing some kind of socialization. Are there options that she's has that she gets to do so she's like around people and having a great time?
She mostly enjoys just being at home around
Hmm.
her mother or me or other family
Mm-hmm.
members. There is like I'm pretty sure you call it a sheltered workshop in the town
Uh,
we're in.
uh-huh.
And then there's some job,
Hmm.
folk rehab stuff too. She just has
Right.
not. Then you got to remember, like, as a kid, I mean, some kids don't want to get a job or do that stuff. So you're like, yep,
Exactly. Yep.
I can't force you to do it. So,
No,
I
no,
mean,
no, no,
it's one of those.
no.
So there are a
And
few
that's a good
options. It's just,
reality.
yeah, it is.
You know, when I do some employment type of stuff in the fall during employment month, I'm going to bring you back so we can have some conversations talking about those options because
Right.
we need to be able to do those options. Um, I really like the idea that she wants to be with her family. She has safety and comfort there.
Mhm.
I talk about embracing what's possible. Um, so because my show is about possibilities, I don't think people should be alone. Glad she's not alone. I'm glad she's not just shoved in a day hab center. A sheltered workshop. I made a face. I'm an employment specialist. I
Yep.
want people to feel empowered. Sheltered workshops pay people below minimum wage. Sometimes just even stuffing an envelope or boxing something will pay them pennies on the dollar. A lot of them have been shut down. Some of them are in loopholes because they're mostly illegal all over the world now. But sheltered workshops pay people with disabilities subpar wages and can get away with it. There was laws that they could get away with it. And I want equal pay for equal work. That's me. I'm Miss Advocate Queen, always wanting to fight for that right that, whether I work with a client or not, I will speak my mind. Um, what's possible for your daughter? Like, what's something fun that she does at home? What's her possibility?
That's a great question. She loves music and going to concerts, so we
All
tried
right.
it. The last big one we went to was what was it? Post Malone Jelly Roll up at the football stadium,
Nice.
which was an adventure because that's a big stadium, and
Yes.
we could do a whole spiel on like accessibility for concerts and stuff from the stuff we've come across. But she loves doing that. She loves doing like stuff for herself. So she likes more the last couple of years. She likes to crush her meds in like every meal now, or she'll
Oh.
dump them in and do it all herself, which is cool. She's being more independent. It's just not always super fast, but she loves doing. I come to realize like there's a lot of things in her life she doesn't have agency over. She can't like do herself. So the things that she can, she really enjoys doing. Like she's more recently putting on like puts her shirt on and puts her sweatshirt on. So just
Yep.
things she hasn't done for most of her life, she's doing more now. She loves doing that. She really enjoyed the library thing. So I'm hoping she can find something again like that. She
Mm-hmm.
just there hasn't been that opportunity. She loves playing like games. We play Wii and Nintendo and listen to
Wow.
music but I mean music's a huge thing. She always wants music on.
Mm-hmm.
Been
Is
recently
she
listening to
dancing in
Bruce.
her chair too to the music and
I
jamming
mean
and
sometimes
yeah,
sometimes she
yeah.
will, yeah. but she likes Bruce
Nice.
Springsteen the most recently, so
Nice.
he is coming to the Twin Cities, but the tickets sold out like right away, so I wasn't able.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's all about music, and we're not really sure. So I'm getting to be older. Her mother's older, so we need to have some conversations about what that looks like when we can't take care of her, which is not
Yeah. Yeah.
as a parent's a little scary to talk about. And in the current climate, it's so I live in
Even more
Minnesota.
dangerous.
I live in Minnesota where there's a lot of stuff in the news now, and a lot of
Mm.
funding stuff is up in the air. So it's kind of been a long year, but I mean it's trying to be like, okay, right now
It's
she's
a
here. When she's over, and enjoy time together. And
what's scary is it's a long year and it's only March.
yeah, no. So
Yeah. Um,
just trying to stay in the moment and enjoy the time together. And like when something happens,
100%.
then we'll deal with it.
We're going to wrap things up. A
Yeah.
couple of tips, a couple of things to just refresh families. What are some of the things that you see out in the world when you're talking and you're working with families? Give us about three, four tips that you think families might really need to know.
I mean, one related to school stuff is if it's not written down or not in email, it just can think it never happened. So I always, with families working with schools or talking to teachers, if you go to the school, have a verbal conversation with the teacher about something about your kid, always go home and follow up with an email. Just saying, hey, it was good to see you today. Thanks for talking about X, Y, Z. Lay it out in the email because sometimes if it's not, I mean, you need to have it written down. So if it's not written down, just didn't
Hmm.
happen. Like I kind of alluded to before, like just remember that it is I mean, it is your child. It is if have them have input on stuff. I mean, not we didn't ask our daughter till later in the process of school for sure, like what she wanted. I mean, try to ask them as when they're able to give you answers, even if it's I like to color or I like lunch or something. Just get their input and if
Hmm.
it's, if the school says A and you as a family don't think that's the right route, I mean, bring it up and it is your family and there's always going to be therapies or I mean in some families' lives like ours, there's always going to be more therapies, more appointments and all this stuff you can
Hmm.
go to, but at some point you have to decide like what's most important. We can't every day after school for 4 hours, we can't be doing therapies and
Right.
life. So pick what's
Um,
most important to you guys.
I am hearing from you that living life to the fullest, having as much independence as possible, finding things that they enjoy, and allowing them to be the people that they want to be sounds very inclusive and very meaningful and very rewarding. And actually, if that's what her life is, that's how she's celebrating being a human being. And
Very
I
true.
applaud you for that.
Thank you.
I applaud you for that. And I think more families need to think like that. Like, instead of the worry, yes, you need to have the dialogue that you're getting older. What's going to happen to her next? But instead of having all this worry, we got to take her to the doctor. We got to do this. We got to do that. And being in the panic mode, allowing her to live her life and celebrate it and doing the things that she loves is the most important part of it. And, and that's her quality of life, celebrating that. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
I wish more families knew how to do that instead of worrying about all of the what if, right? What if?
And I mean, that's been more recently. I've gotten to that point. So if you're listening as families, I mean, don't be too hard on yourself either. Like
No.
you're doing the best you can. Like I said, none of this stuff I knew about at all, like the special ed or disability before she was born. So just do the best you can, and once you figure out something better, do that.
Great advice. Aaron, you're going to be a fan favorite. I'm going to have you back. I'm sure we have lots of things to talk about, and lots of things are going to be coming up in the very near future. This is Roxy with Embracing What's Possible. We're talking to families with children or adults who have disabilities, and we're learning what their lives have been like, what their child's life has been like. Maybe we can even have a parent with their child on. And you're not alone. You need to understand that your quality of life is your quality of life. There's lots of things to learn. And even if you don't know it, it's okay not to know it. You could probably find a resource in your community. Federation for Special Needs Children is a big advocacy organization that's in a lot of states. I will make sure that I send that link because there's a lot of resources there. They even have peers that are trained where they can actually help the families in school. This is going to be a delightful and really informative series, and I'm really looking forward to providing that. Again, I'm Roxy B. Rocker, and I am the host of Embracing What's Possible with Roxy. And I love giving disability education and awareness and letting you know that there's possibilities everywhere and they fit into your situation, not the societal. How about a beautiful day? And I hope you keep tuning in so we can continue to learn disability education and awareness. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have an amazing week.
I'm embracing what's possible, heart open wide, where fear used to whisper, now love is my guide. I'm not just surviving, I'm setting the pace, wearing my story with shimmering grace. From shadows to spotlight, I rise and I sing, embracing what's possible, changes everything. This is your Prospera era, where dreams align with grace, abundance flows like rivers. You've stepped into